Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very special guest with me tonight. She is an award-winning, world-renowned nail artist, nail judge, nail educator. Please welcome the legendary and phenomenal Catherine Wong. Hello, Catherine. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thank
So,
you for having me.
so I wanted to start asking about your upbringing. So, what was your upbringing like, and how did you get started into the nail industry? So, if you could talk about your upbringing as well as how you got involved into the nail and beauty industry, that would be great.
Well, like everybody else in Asia, we were taught to study hard, get good results, go into a good university, get a decent job. And that would be like working in a huge company, work your way up, stuff like that. So that's what I did. I was a pretty good student, and obviously, when I graduated, I started working in corporate, and I was in it for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then, obviously, along the way, then you look for like job satisfaction, and I've always been an artistic person. And in one of the business trip, I went to a beauty trade show, and I was fascinated. I didn't know that there was so many things going on in the beauty industry. I was really fascinated, but that was about it at the time. And going into nails was something like I actually had my nails done in the nail salon as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to get nails extended, tips,
Mm-hmm.
acrylic overlay, and then polish with red. That would be the only thing that the salon was offering. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason why nail industry was starting in Asia, particularly in Singapore, was
Mm-hmm.
because the Singapore Airlines, right, had all these air stewardess and crew, and they had to wear red polish. So they are the one who tends to travel out a lot, and then they would get their nails done.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing also with Singapore being such a small country, we had a lot of expatriates, which means like people from different country coming to work here. And we had a lot of people from America working in Singapore at the time because they were the mobile business. We had the Ericsson, Nokia. You remember those days, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're too young for that. But anyway, so we had manufacturing going on, and you have all these expatriate families and their wives, so they come in and they started wearing nails, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
we get our nails done in the salon, it's just basically tip, overlay, red polish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got my nails done, and I was actually quite fascinated, but they couldn't do anything more than that.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea about nail art. So I thought that, when I looked at magazines and having been to a trade show, I've seen some interesting stuff, but it was not available in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
So I played with the idea. I started going to learn myself just to get I was curious, and art has always been my interest. So I was curious. I took a course and I fell in love with it. And it's a long story, but basically, to cut the long short, I
Mm-hmm.
was also lucky enough because I met Alicia Rimando. She was one of the guest educator that was invited to a beauty academy here in Singapore where I took my course,
Mm-hmm.
and she did a demo,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the very first time I saw sculptured nails. I've never seen nails built up on a foam before. So that was really fascinating. What we saw was just tape, overlay. So she did this beautiful set of nails, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. You know what I mean? So from there, the curiosity spurred me on, and then I started getting to know people in the industry who actually trains, and they had good products. And
Mm-hmm.
from there, I went to, find out more. And for some reason, I ended up going into the nail business from there. So that's how it started. Yeah.
That's a really cool story. Was there anybody that really motivated you or pushed you to get into nails? Was it Alicia Ramondo, or was it any beauty professional that really motivated you to get into nails and push into the artistry of it?
No, I was inspired by them, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I pushed myself a lot. So, you know, my character is, if I want something, I always tell myself, you know, just do it. You know, you only live once, right? What
Mhm.
have you got to
Right.
do? Yeah. So I've been in pursuing my career for 10 years, and I couldn't see um, anything exciting out of that, you know. So I thought it's time for me to actually go into something that I love, and I want to work and um, develop my own interests. And if I fail, I can always go back, you know, to
Mhm.
working in an office. That's not difficult, but
Mhm.
you only have like a lifespan where you can pursue something that you like. So I went in. Um, I wasn't sure if I was going to succeed. That was never on my mind. I weighed, you know, like what the heck, right? You only
Right.
live
Exactly.
once. Yeah, go for it. And if it doesn't work, at least you try. So that was how I approached it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what my parents always tell me. If you want
Yeah,
something, go for it. Take that
yeah,
leap. So I think just face those fears. You know what I mean? And I've
yeah,
heard a saying once, like, if you're scared to seize an opportunity, then do it scared. Because you're taking that leap to seize that opportunity. And also be
exactly.
prepared for it too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I want to ask this: has there been a time where you've like worked in a salon? Like, what's your whole experience working in a salon or maybe owning a salon? So if you can talk about
Okay.
your whole salon experience, possibly, that would be great.
Yeah. So when I jumped into the nail business, I had two partners with me. So we had this setup where it's like a three department setup. We have
Mm-hmm.
the training center,
Mm-hmm.
and then the distribution, and then we had the salon. So each of us took over one particular department.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the salon is concerned, when we had like a peak season, for example, you know, festive season, Lunar New Year, where you need more people for help, we'll all be there at the salon. But other than that, I was more involved with the distribution side as well as the training side. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
was fascinated with training because um, first we had to find a good product. When I started this business, I understood very well that I had to bring in something that we couldn't offer locally. Nobody offered it locally. So I started looking into brands,
Mm-hmm.
looking into their education program. And then I started it, brought it in, and then we worked as an extension for that particular brand and their training. So we are always updated because when you work with a brand, what they have is R&D. They
Mm-hmm.
always come up with new product, new technology,
Mm-hmm.
and then they will have trade shows. So you will get to see all the new stuff coming out, and it will bring that into the education program and make sure that whoever come and train with us, they will have the latest in the market. So we're up to date. And then having trained them, we will have an area where they can come out and um, have a hands-on experience in the salon to offer the services. So
Mm-hmm.
with Asia, I mean, where at least where I am, Singapore, Malaysia, what we do is in the past, nail is something like if you're uneducated, you're not highly educated, you quit school, then you would go for something with hands, and people
Mm-hmm.
always associate nails with washing people's hands and feet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not a very uh, admirable kind of a profession. You know, it's always like if you don't study hard, you don't get a good result. Okay, then you will end up doing washing people's hands and feet. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I want to change that perception because I could see that there is a room for growth for at least another 10 to 15 years, you know, in the industry. So at that point, it was at a very infant stage, and I could see the business going on for another at least 10 to 15 years to develop it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of distribution, like if somebody wants to get into distribution, like how could you define what is distribution? Like if somebody doesn't know the whole process behind distribution, how could you explain to somebody that's new to distribution, and how can somebody get in? How can somebody get involved into distribution?
Okay. To put it very simply, it's just bringing in a product
Mm,
into your market where you are the master distributor, That
Mm,
means you hold the rights to importing it,
mm,
to all the information and the education around it. You bring it in, and then you find there are two channels. You either find sub distributors where people would carry the stock that you bring in, and they will
mm,
use it in their salon or in their academy. Or the other way is to sell it yourself to nail salons so that you promote your product so that they would use it in the salon. So basically, that was a very simple model. So when I bring in a product, for example, we'll just say brand ABC, I bring it into Singapore. I
mm,
made sure that I carry the entire line of products. So if they have gel, acrylic, polishes, we'll bring in everything, right?
mm,
And then we will distribute it either to retail or to salons, to professionals, or to schools that are teaching nails, so that they will use our product. But what makes it uh, effective is that we have to give the support in terms of training so that they understand, like you
mm.
can bring in tons of products, but if nobody knows how to use it and nobody knows about it, it's no point. So we do all the
Right.
promotion, the marketing, the training. And obviously when the students use the product, they know how good it is. So when they set up their own salon, they will bring that product into their salon. So that's how we actually do it. So for someone who's starting out and they want to look into distribution, they will have to identify a good product, a good company, good support, making
Mm,
sure that there is a good education system behind it.
mm,
And that's how, it's a good way to start.
mm.
Yeah,
Okay, that's very, very good tips,
yeah,
and it's very good to really know and plus understand the products too. So that's
yeah.
really good advice. Also, I wanted to ask pertaining to like your salon experience, like more about like what is the importance of like nail care in terms of like skin care as
Mm,
well as like the foundation of the nail. Because a lot of people talk about like the artistry of it, and that's the fun part. Doing a structure of a nail, that's important too, but the most important is nail preparation. So if you could talk about the importance of nail preparation and also nail care, and what tips could you provide for someone who wants to take better care of their nails, that'd be great.
well, that is the very basic of nails, your skin, the health of your nails. Now, we also emphasize very much that when people start going into the nail business, they have to be able to manage the natural nail first. They have to understand, the anatomy of the nails, how, especially cleanliness, with all diseases going around and so on. The
Mhm.
cleanliness in the salon, as well as how you manage, is really, really important. So that's
Mhm.
the very basic. So anybody who comes in and they want to learn about nails before going into the artistry and the technology part, we always start them off with nail care. Okay, so they have to learn about the anatomy of the nails. They have to
Mhm.
learn how to clean the cuticles, because different culture, different country does it a bit differently. Like
Right.
here in Asia, we don't have any law that objects to cutting the cuticle. We can trim, we can cut. There are so many ways to do it. But I understand that in America, it's
Mhm.
not legal to actually cut the cuticle with a scissor and a cuticle nipper and so on. So
Right.
that's where education comes in, and that's where people like us who provide education comes in, because we not only learn what's here. We learn the Russian style, we learn the American style,
Mhm.
we've learned the Japanese and the Korean style. And then from there, we find one that is the most suitable for us. And then as
Mhm.
long as you're trained, you know how to handle, like even my students, they can do e-file, for
Mhm.
nail care. Okay, they can use the scissor, they can use the cuticle nipper. It doesn't matter, as long as you're trained, you understand what you're doing. Okay, you
Mhm.
understand the whole anatomy, then they can provide the service to the customers. With regard to, um, like you say, nail care and the beauty part of it, the skincare, that's
Mhm.
also very important, because what people like to come to the salon is to make sure that they get their skin looked after as well. So that is a
Mhm.
very big add-on to your services, besides just doing um, polishing and cleaning of the cuticles. You also want to teach your customer how to take care of their skin.
Mhm.
And skincare is a huge part, I think, in every beauty business, right? You
Right.
would want to upsell as well. You want to make sure that besides getting beautiful nails, you want to make sure that they get their skin, scrub, mask, and then put on,
Mhm.
moisturizer. So we teach them a little bit of that, sort of like encourage them and teach them how to look after their hands and feet, after the
Mhm.
service is done. So that's how you actually get the customers coming back. Because by just doing enhancement and art, it's not enough to sustain the business. Yeah,
Mhm.
natural nail care is a very huge part of the nail industry as well.
Mhm. So I went to this site. In this site, I think it's called Beauty Tutors. I hope I
Mm-hmm.
pronounced it correctly. And
Yeah.
you guys offer different nail courses. So different educators provide different nail courses, such as nail structure, such as sculpting a nail, such
Yeah.
as like 3D nail art and things of that nature. So how does one register for your courses, and when can we expect like brand new nail courses?
Well, Beauty Tutors is a wonderful, wonderful educational site which Tracy Lee started out, and she did a great job, promoting it and so on. However, I'm sad to say that she announced this year that this site will be closing down officially at the end of March, and
Okay.
because there isn't enough traffic to get it going.
Mhm.
That is also one of the issue that I think the nail industry is having, because now with
Mhm.
the internet, there are many, many platforms, or even like a YouTube or
Right.
free resources where people can go and get stuff. So
Mhm.
for people who are starting out, they do not really understand, or they do not realize the extent of where you get your educational resources from. So
Right.
people tend to be very attracted to free resources rather than paid resources. So I think for this to be able to, for people to come to the realization, it does take time, but the platform cannot go on if there's not enough traffic going to it. So I think
Mhm.
Tracy, very reluctantly had to close this platform, which I think is a pity, because she spent so much investment into building it. And then I'm sure you understand, like after a while, when you start building a platform from scratch, you pay a lot of money, and then something else comes
Mhm.
up and you can use like a template. It's a lot cheaper, right? So I think um, she couldn't sustain it, so she had to close it. But the people who bought the courses from that website, they could still use it up to a year.
Mhm.
So even if people want to go in and sign up now, they will still be able to access it for one more year. But the platform is closing down in March,
Okay.
so there will not be any more new classes posted on there. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good in terms of like the to hear the whole progress and status of the
Mhm.
site, because I wasn't sure if you guys were still offering courses.
The
Uh,
courses will still be there until March. So if anyone sign up now, which I think they should, because it's such a waste, there's
okay.
some really, really good program there. You can
Mhm.
sign up, but you can access this for another year. So
Mhm.
that's a long time, yeah. But as of now, there will not be any more new courses being uploaded over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the update. And
Yeah.
I want to ask like your whole experience being a nail educator.
Right.
So how important is being a nail educator? And if someone wants to be into nail education and who wants to teach nails to other people, like what advice would you give for someone who wants to be a nail educator?
Okay. Now, nail educator, you can approach it in, I would say, two ways. Okay. One of them is that the main one, which everybody is doing, is that you attach yourself to a brand, and
Hmm.
then you become that brand's nail educator. Okay, so some companies, they do, because of the COVID now, we don't have trade shows, we don't have the in-person kind of interaction at the moment. But when all this blows over, I think what happens is, if you join a company, the company will have a team of educators. They will train you. You actually go into an education program, so they would have a training session for the educators. then you can use their product to offer courses, to your own students. So that's one way. That's a good way, because if you are working with a brand, you will be very well versed with all their products. And like I said, whenever they have updates, they have new skills, new technology, you'll be the first one to get trained. And then from there, you can train it to whoever that's taking the course from you. So that's one way. The second way, for countries which needs licensing, if you go to a beauty school, you get your license, and then there will be courses where you upgrade to become educator. You might be able to work as an educator, offering, to schools and so on. So there's two pathways, but the most common one is through a product and be their brand educator. Okay. And from there, that's very important, because that's where you build your profile, your credibility, until people know about you. Then you can come out and become an independent educator, right? Just like for myself, right? I have all this experience becoming a brand educator first. I'm sure a lot of the educators that you will be speaking to, the famous ones, they're all attached to a brand at some point in their life, right? So it could be 10 years, could be 5 years, could be 3 years, but that's where you get all the experiences, because we go for boot camps, you go for trade shows, you get all the exposure. Some educators even get to travel. The company will send them to different countries to teach different schools and so on. And that's where you get the wealth of experience. Then once you get your when people get to know you, you build your credibility, your experience, then you can come out and become an independent educator. Then you probably can use any brand, any product, but most importantly is your experience. Yeah, so you can teach in that way. Also now there are people who are influencers, so they get to go online. They had a lot of followers, so whatever they do, people will follow. So that kind of educator is I think it's a new generation. It's good and bad, obviously. I think the bad as in not a terrible thing, but if they're not trained, but people just follow them because they're famous, then they might be lacking in certain areas. People follow you because you're famous, you're trendy, so they follow you, but they're not based on training base. They're based on their fame. It's not a bad thing. Influencers are good, but then it will not be that complete unless they themselves has gone through a course, and then with the influencer status, then they promote, which is that would be a good thing. But if they were never trained before, they get their skills as well from watching YouTube videos, or maybe just signing up for one or two courses, then I wouldn't say that's a full-fledged educator in that sense. Yeah. So there are probably 2 or 3 ways you can be. So it all depends on where you're going. Like if you are teaching art, that's fine. But if you're teaching cutting of cuticles, e-filing, you need to get training for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good advice. And I like how you brought up the whole thing about social media, because I could definitely agree, there's a little bit of like the cons of social media. You have some people that have a lot of these nail art tutorials. You have like Instagram, you got TikTok,
That's right.
you have like Snapchat, and Facebook, so a lot of people, get so invested within social media. And I think, educators should have a lot more shine, because, especially the years of expertise, that you guys have, what I mean? Because with social media influencers, you don't know like how much experience they have or how much training they have. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting point that you really, brought that up. Now, I wanted to ask like this one question. What's the whole difference between, in terms of the beauty industry, between Asia and the United States, considering that you've traveled in your whole experience, doing nails around the world. So is there any similarities and differences between Asia and the United States?
There are a lot of similarities. The only difference that I see is that, of course, with the United States, it's very strict. You have laws. You need to get licensed and so on. With Asia, you don't need to get licensed, but people are also very well informed. they would not go to a nail salon where it's unhygienic. They will not go to a nail salon where they can see that the quality is not there. Okay. The Asian people, they, I think in some ways they operate on a larger scale. For example, in the States, you get people who booth rent. Okay, so you actually booth rent in a hair salon or a nail salon, so that particular desk is your own business, right? But with Asia, we don't have booth renting. I think that is one of the major difference between Asia and the States. We don't have booth renting. You either work for a salon where the owner owns the entire business and they hire the people to work for them. So that is the biggest difference. But what's popping up a lot in Asia now is what we call the home-based business. So home-based business is basically you have a desk in your own house and your customers actually come, your clients come to your own house and you do the services one-on-one. But if it's in a shop, you will never get like a one booth kind of nail services. It's always the entire shop, like a hair salon. You walk in, you would have about 10 to 15 staff, and they just come in and do the full service. So there's two types, but because of the situation with the pandemic right now, I think home-based business is booming. People get their nails done in someone's home. That's booming. Whereas the shop, it's a bit of an unfortunate situation where they can't open. Even if they open, they need to adhere to social distancing. So if let's say you've got a table, like 15 tables in the salon, you can only accommodate 7 because you need to have that 1 meter apart social distancing in the salon. So I think nail business is also suffering, during this period of time.
And I also think that, I think it's not just working from home. I think, people are taking a lot of businesses online due to the pandemic, and like working at home, I do like my friend's nails, I do my mom's nails at home, so, it's a bit safer when you're at home versus if you're in a public setting, you know what I mean, in certain instances. So I wanted to ask, pertaining to your Nail Queen bling box, what is the status of that business? Are you still selling different products as well as the nail couture books? Like, what's the whole status of your business?
Okay, the thing is, I started slowing down, okay, in 2016. Okay, I actually had a distribution business and an academy, but up to the point in 2016, I actually gave up the shop. And like I said, right, I have been in the business for about 18 years. And when I started this business, I could see the growth between 10 to 15 years. And I've worked past that. And I decided that there are other things that I want to do as well. So I actually went into cake decorating, baking, floral arrangement. I went into other things because I felt like I've already done education. I've done Salon. I've authored the books. I've done my competition. So I've tried almost everything that I could possibly do in the nail industry. So I wanted to try something else. So I actually toned down on the nail part and went into something else. And I got sort of, the nail was, I would still do it. Like prior to the pandemic, I would still go do some seminars, some workshops, but it wasn't like before where it was like something that I wake up to and do every single day. So that's why the main thing I'm doing now is I'm doing the online courses as far as nails are concerned. The Nail Queen Bling Box was set up at the time when I was still fully committed in the nail industry. So that's where my books, I sell my books. And at that time, we didn't have that full-blown Instagram thing, right? People wanted designs, they wanted step-by-steps. Where do you get it? You either get it in a trade magazine or you get it from books. And I told myself, when I leave the industry one day, right, what do I want to leave behind, for the nail industry that I can look back on? So books, Like books are so rare now. Everybody
Right.
go online, they get ebooks, they get Instagram,
Mhm.
they've got all these pages. But what happens when all these disappear one day? You
Right.
know,
Right.
you will still be able to hold on to a book and then flip through the pages, right? So I
Mhm.
spent quite a lot of money publishing those books. But when I look at it now, it's like, those nails, like I could have done better. Like I have a lot of ideas and I might even publish um, more books down the road, like with better
Mhm.
designs, better technology. But I was quite lucky because I had all these books, so I treasure them a lot. Like I did one with Viv
Mhm.
on competition mixed media, but it wasn't complete yet. It was just part of it, and then we got busy. I got busy, she got busy, but I'm sure we'll somehow collaborate at some point, and do a proper,
Mhm.
a big encyclopedia one day. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what's happening to the bling box. It's just mainly for the books, and then
Mhm.
maybe at that time we travel a lot, right? And we used to have so much problem trying to bring all our accessories with us. So the bling box is just little containers where we can put all our bling inside,
Mhm.
and it was really useful. And we want something that's fancy. So when we do demos, we open up, and then it looks good. So we came up with the bling box in the aluminum finishing. And yeah, some stuff that we use a lot, like whatever accessories we felt that we couldn't get at the time,
Mhm.
and we had them made and then sold on that particular bling box thing. Yeah, but that was it.
Speaking of you and Viv Simmons, I want to talk about the Viv Cat nail design,
Yeah.
the collaborative business that you and Viv had began. And
Mm.
I want you to talk about your whole experience, having, a business and friendship with Viv Simmons. And what was like your first impression when you first met her? I mean.
First impression. She's a very strong personality, um, very hardworking,
Mm.
down to earth, straightforward, super talented, and she's funny. She is really, really funny. Like, um, we always have a lot of fun together. So I think the personality, it somehow just worked a lot. Like she's the very meticulous one. I'm not as meticulous as her. And we tend to work really well. Like she makes up for what I'm lacking, and I think yeah, we complete each other where nails are concerned.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
And I want to also talk about like the nail covers. Like, what is like your favorite nail cover that you've done with Viv? And also, is there any nail covers that you really like or really love, like that you did like solo wise?
We did a lot of nail covers as VivCat,
Mm.
for not for magazines, but mainly for our posters and so on. So we
Mm.
would come together and say, okay, let's do a poster. So all the students that actually attended our VivCat,
Mm.
they could get the posters that was done by us. So it's one hand by Viv and one hand by me,
Mm.
and we would do like different things like angels and demon.
Mm.
I think she did the angel one and I did the demon, if I'm not mistaken. Like we would come
Mm.
up with something like that. As to magazine covers, I think I've done 3 with her. 2 is just me and Viv,
Mm.
and 1 is with Gina Silvestro.
Mm.
She's from Accents, and one of our dear friends as well. So it was really fun. Like every time, if we have a chance to fly to the States together, we
Mm.
would be in touch with Nail Pro or the Nails magazine, and we always get like a chance to do a collaborative work on the covers.
Mm. Now you're also.
Favorite one? Sorry, I didn't answer that question. Which favorite one? I think I don't have a favorite. Like we always have good fun doing it together, and we never really plan what it's supposed to look like. We know the theme, we know the colors, but when we ended up working, and then it will always like
Mm.
everything will be come out on the spot. Like we won't have something planned in advance. Yeah, I like how that works out.
Mm. How could you describe like your art style with the nails and Viv's art style? How do those two styles like, collaborate with each other? Like how do they mesh together?
Mm, I work with a lot of colors. So what inspires me is being colorful in my design.
Mm-hmm.
And for me is I like to, my philosophy when I do nail art, right? I think of it this way. There's no point spending 2 hours doing a beautiful piece of art, but it's not going to sell in the salon. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? It's like when you're in a competition, you can spend days on a piece of art to make it perfect so that you can get the highest score. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in the nail salon setting, you have to think about um, being able to deliver within the shortest time. But, wow, beautiful, beautiful nails, beautiful design, doesn't take much time, but you earn that the same amount of money, right? You're going to charge a customer like $100 set of nails. I want to be able to complete it in an hour. And that's where my profit is high, rather than complete it in 4 hours and the customer will never come back again. It's too
Right.
much. And they'll say like, okay, I'm not going to sit 4 hours to get $100 nail, set of nails done, no matter how beautiful it is. I don't have the time. Right. So that's my philosophy when it comes to nail art generally. So same thing with competition. I will think of the fastest way to get the best result in the shortest time, but the nail must look beautiful. The design must look beautiful. So I work with a lot of colors, even details, but simple details, but make that looks complicated. So that's how I do my design. Viv is very precise. She's very meticulous. She cannot deliver something without perfecting it. She has to be, she
Mm-hmm.
has to make sure everything is on point. So she spend more time, doing it beautifully. So I think that's main differences between us. And she can't understand like how I could just put everything together, and she thinks it looks good, which thank goodness, but that's the point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I couldn't do something for hours and hours perfecting it because I know that it's not going to work in a nail salon.
Right.
But
Right.
for education, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So if let's say, so that's how we balance. Like if we are both doing a competition training, right? If you train with Viv, for sure, you will get beautiful finish, beautiful work, everything. But if you train with me, you will not get anything less because you will also get the speed, but the results at the end. So you get a bit of both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like both of your styles of nail art because it's so cool, and I like how very intricate it is, especially your style of nail art work. It's so colorful and it's so vibrant and it's like so imaginative, you know. And what I've been taught, in terms of creating art, because I went to an art school here in the
Yeah.
States, called the Savannah College of Art and Design, which is SCAD in Savannah, Georgia, and we're learning these different art styles and how to incorporate it in different forms. So it's really cool to see with both of your styles, like they're so intricate but very different. And
Mhm.
I wanted to ask, pertaining to nail competing, now what was your experience like competing for the very first time, and what was that category?
I competed in art, obviously, the very first time because that's what fascinates me. So I went to a beauty show and I've seen some crazy work. Actually, the beauty show was a hair show. Okay, so they had all these beautiful hair costumes, makeup, and I
Mm,
was really fascinated. And when in the nail division, you have this segment where you call fantasy nails. That
mm,
was where I thought to myself, great, you can put in the beauty of costume, makeup, and the nails together. So
right.
how do you combine this and bring it like a wow, So that's
Mhm,
how my very first competition was in the fantasy. Yeah.
mhm,
And to me at the time, I've seen some fantasy work, which I realized that they had these nails that's just
mhm,
plain polished nails, but they did all these uh, designs that they stick onto the nails.
mhm,
And to me at that point when I look at it, I told myself I felt like the nail should have the art. not the embellishments that stuck to it. You know what I'm saying? Like the art should be on the nail itself. So like the surface of the nail needs to be very intricate. You got to put in all the details on the nail itself, and not just like sticking, you know, huge embellishment onto the nail and the nail is plain. So to me, that is not how I want nail art to look like. So when I competed, I made sure that um, the design is actually on the nail plate itself. So be it a 3D art, be it a hand painted design, it's on the nail itself. And whatever embellishment that you stick on is just to enhance it, but it's not taking away from the nail itself. So I guess I did that right the first time because I won, and it was based on the details on the nails. So when I started training students for competition, that is something I stress a lot as well. Make sure that it's a nail art. So the art is on the nail surface itself as a canvas, but not just, you know, accessorize it with huge, you know, they make dolls, huge dolls, but they stick it on the nail. But the nail itself is plain. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
At the
yeah,
seat
yeah,
though?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really important. And even up to today, if people are competing in fantasy, always think that you are competing in the nails. So make sure your nails are full of designs and details, and not, you know, just a plain base and then have your design outside of the nail, because that's not what it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.